to make this call. I just got to see you with her. No, I don't wanna see you at all. You ain't gotta call the witness. You ain't gotta make
All
a
right.
case.
Joining me tonight, Miss SYDNEY WRIGHT. Oh, that rhymes. That's nice. How are you doing, SYDNEY?
Yeah. I'm good. I just made me some rose tea. I'm feeling good. How are you? It's nice to thank you for having me.
Of
on
course. Of course.
It's nice
Thank
to
you
talk
for
to a
doing it.
face.
It is. It is becoming quite challenging. I'm fortunate to have my wife and daughter, but yeah, we're sequestered here. So, but how have you been doing? So I've been like starting these with, where you were in March and what you had planned, but we're almost a complete year. We're coming up on a year, ahead of that time. So let me kind of ask it, how have these last 9 months been for you? How have you adjusted yourself? I'm sure there's been, like the rest of us, like different chapters within it, but kind of, I guess, start us at the beginning of the lockdown period, last March, and how you were affected by it then. How were you able to keep things in motion through the summer and the winter, and how are you doing now? We'll start there.
Okay, so you're right. Everything's come in phases. I'm already a roller coaster emotionally as a person. So it's definitely come in waves, everything.
Yeah.
I was a lot sadder about like missed opportunities in the beginning because big things were happening. Like it was my first year to be South by official, like an official artist, and get to play on an official South by stage. And then there were just several things that I did like the week that were just kind of like disappointing to miss. Like I thought that my trajectory was here, and then this was totally like career wise a little different. But also a lot of things worked out this year that like kept me afloat. Like the Black Fret grants last year that I got, like I wasn't able to get employment, and that's the only reason that I didn't have to move back home with my mom and like completely just uproot everything. So like I've been really fortunate truly in the whole thing, and I trust that I'll get my wheels turning once everything opens back up and just keep going.
Yeah, well, that's good to
yeah.
hear, because everyone's in different situations. It seems like a lot of the music people I am talking to have been able to kind of deal with it, and it's different varying degrees of like you said, some people were crushed by it because of South by and tours coming up for the summer. Some were already kind of taking a break or what have you. But you specifically, how have you, like, let's say like summer, right? You'd been in it for a couple months. How did you start kind of regrouping in the summer once that wave had hit? How did you spend your time creatively, personally, things of that nature to keep yourself sane?
Summer was really hard.
Oh, geez.
Well, I did get to release a music video that I made last October in May. And so it started out strong. It was the week that George Floyd was murdered. So I as far as like it got a little bit buried in other news, which rightfully so. But at least I was really happy and like ecstatic to release that. I had the best team to work on that. It's called Tenderfoot. If you want to see it, it's on the internet. And but then in June, I had to put down the family dog, or my dog, and but it was like the kind choice. So I was working through that. July was to me just like I hardly did anything at all except for like obsess over streaming. I've really gotten into like streaming gear, and like I got this new pedal, so I've been like programming it and trying to get these two to interface together so I can loop and have like backing tracks all at once.
Nice.
And so there was a lot of like isolation was good for me in that way personally, because I had time to just sit and nerd out all the time that I ever wanted to, sit and write and work on these pedals I had. So that was awesome. And then I got into therapy. Thank God for Sims. And that helped a lot. So I would say like August, things started turning around and I was able to work through stuff. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it's man,
Without
is it?
diving in.
Of course not. But yeah, it's been, it's been over the course of the year, any year, you're going to go through these ups and downs and challenges and triumphs. But then that's like, that's every year. But then a year like this, it's everything that is happening seems to be intensified. The good stuff and the bad stuff, like the nerding out, the time to be creative has been fantastic for myself. And it sounds like you and a lot of people I talk to for sure. But then, you don't stay on the same level forever. It dips. And now with the way things are going, it's just like, it can get real tricky and it can get heavy. And now, boy, oh boy. So we're just on the cusp of all this social unrest and that really, it's just like everybody just wants it. Let's just get through this. Let's just get the transfer of power without the country erupting, because the election was like, it was so intense going into it and that week after, but then it kind of settled, it settled after it was clear what was happening. And now, of course, the loser is trying to rev things up. And I don't want to get political here, but I'm just getting into like, it's heavy. So I'm glad to hear things kind of evened out for you now. So one of the best parts of this podcast for me is getting to know everyone's kind of root story and where you come from, your musical influences, when you started playing. So tell me where you come from and when you started playing music, who your favorite, musicians were growing up and all that good stuff.
Okay. First, I do want to also say that I've been able to write more music in this time. I feel like I just like dumped all over the past year, but which it deserves. But a lot of really good things happen, and I feel very inspired, even like through all the craziness. Like I just sent some vocals to my friends in Brooklyn and LA for like an inauguration day send off song, and it just like having the time to express and make things without like having my shift work. I'm a live sound engineer in the before times, and having to like run around and do all this stuff. I really love being able to like express myself, have the time to do that and to do it like with care. And I'm a slow worker when it comes to like creating things. And so it's really nice. Quarantine has been good for me too. So just wanted to say that before, and
that's great.
And let's like, let's dive into
the
my origin story.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I started playing music in like church. I grew up Baptist, and my mom and like her mom and all the ladies in our family, I think it's a cultural thing, I'm not sure. We're from West Texas. Snyder is my hometown, and everybody would be like the organ players in the church and the piano players in the church. And so that was like, we would do all the graduations and the funerals and the weddings, and like that was like what my mom and her mom would do. And so that's how I learned music, is she had us all in piano lessons. I have 3 sisters. There's 4 girls. And so it was just my dad and my dog, bringing all the masculinity to the home. And well, that's not true. We all went hunting. So I didn't mean masculinity, the manhood to the home, I guess. I don't know. Sure. So do you just have one daughter?
Yes. Yeah, just one.
Okay. Do you have any sons?
No. We just got the one. Just the one. It's probably going to stay that way. We'll see. You never know. But my brother also has 2 daughters. So, we went from a masculine kind of man family with my brother and I, and then it's all changing now. So we love it though. But 4 girls, That's half a Brady
I
Bunch
love
right
that
there.
for you. I feel like there's this whole thing that happens to dads of daughters that just makes them very gentle and well-rounded as men. So congratulations on your girl baby.
Thank you.
And
It's
that's a
definitely
tangent.
tenderizes you. That's for sure. It makes you very tender. There's no doubt about
Yeah.
it. And I know most
Yeah.
dads of daughters would say that. But so you grew up music in the church. So that is one of my favorite, things to talk about, because I've talked about with a lot of people's musical roots are in the church. And if it's a Baptist church in Texas, I'm sure that music was you can tell me, but why don't you just tell me before I make any assumptions? What was that music like in that West Texas Baptist church?
From like an ethnomusicologist standpoint, it was very like choral and like fours and fives and organs and very Western. Yeah, just like choral music, I would say mostly. But we did have like a youth group, and I played. What did I play? Oh, I played guitar in like the youth band for a minute and sang, and my sister played keys, and so it was fun. I started on the piano, which I think was like awesome for learning music, because everything's linear. You're not having to start back over whenever you go to a new string. And so I'm glad I got to do that. I'm glad I got to learn musical theory. But by the time I was 15, I was listening to like Patty Griffin and Ryan Bingham. My English teacher, Miss Bowen, gave me those two CDs in like when I was like a sophomore. And that made me fall into songwriting as like a really easy way for me to express. And I was an okay singer, and so everyone like just pumped me up in my hometown. And so I started playing little gigs at Done Right Barbecue for a steak and tips. And
how old were you when you're doing that?
Around 16, because I remember
Nice,
driving there.
That's cool. So you were gigging at 16 at a barbecue joint in West Texas. That's solid. That's good.
It was like a bunch of covers, just like I just watched Jamie Harris's episode, just the one just before this.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And much like she did, it was like Gretchen Wilson and Dixie Chicks and everything is what I grew up on. In my hometown, there was 3 stations: a country, classic rock, and sometimes you could pick up the hip hop station in Abilene. So that was my musical life until I got to, I don't know, discover LimeWire, wasn't it?
For me, it was, I think I'm a little older than you. For me, it was Napster. I was there when Napster was, and then after that, there was a lot of, I think I was on LimeWire for a little while, but there was another one. What was the other one? I don't know. But yeah, that was the heyday of that.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I would spend hours just crafting the perfect CD. Those were the days.
I mean, I was
and
in
did
my
you ever
most
have
formative years when that was going on. It was like, I think I was like 17 through 19. So I was like obsessed with music, and all that stuff became available. I was like, it's great. But now, I mean, we got Spotify now, so kids kind of but no, that was exciting time. What were you going to say?
Did you ever have a Talk Boy and a Talk Girl? It was the pink version.
I had a Talk Boy.
What was it?
Talk Boy, yeah.
And then it was shaped like this. And this was like the little microphone. And then the cassette tapes, and you could like record stuff. Did you ever do that?
Oh, yeah. And that was a marketing master ploy by Home Alone 2. And we just watched Home Alone. It was. I remember when Home Alone 2 came out. And it was like one of the best marketing things of all time. It's like the biggest kid movie with the coolest device. I mean, they cleaned up on that thing. And we just watched Home Alone 2 this Christmas for the first time with my daughter. So yeah, Talk Boys were cool. And you could slow it down. And that was so amazing.
Yeah. My first recording Oh, I wish I could find one of those tapes. That'd be a trip.
Yeah. So you were gigging at 16 at the barbecue joint, and then was high school. You continued to pursue kind of a songwriter path, or were you playing in bands, or what else were you doing besides the church stuff?
I started writing songs in high school, and they were mostly country songs. That was like, I leaned country. Like one of my first jobs was taking down a barbed wire fence, like a whole section of barbed wire fence. Me and my sister would get up at 7 a.m. and just roll barbed wire for hours and hours.
As a chore or a recreational activity?
Oh no, as for money. We worked for like this
figured.
dude, Robert Lair. He hired us to do it. And I had
that's what I
forgotten
was
what
thinking.
he said.
Oh, so
Now I
like,
remember what I was
were you playing with bands and collaborating at all in high school as well, or was it kind of just solo stuff?
Well, that's when I started writing songs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started like inviting, because like I didn't date in high school. No one asked me out. But some of my friends, like, we're going through their first breakups and everything, and I would invite them over, and some of them would even write lyrics and bring them over, and we would just write songs about it, and it was cathartic for them, and it was great practice for me. And actually, some of those songs made it to my first album, which came out in like 2018. My first solo album. They were good ones.
Cool.
When did you start writing songs?
I started writing songs when I was about, I guess, 18 or 19. I think I was probably futzing around, like half writing riffs and songs. And then when I decided that's what I wanted to do full blast, that's when I would start really writing songs and figuring it out. And so I was probably about 20 when I was 19 or 20 when I was like officially writing a full song and lyrics and all that stuff. But I was kind of putting some pieces together before that. But yeah, I was pretty solid at songwriting from the get-go. I just, at least I thought so. Whereas I personally didn't think I was a very good singer or guitar player. I had to work at those a lot. That took years of work, hard work. The songwriting, I mean, I'm not a master songwriter or anything like that, but I always had confidence in delivering what I wanted to deliver as a piece. Whereas the other stuff, I was like, oh, it's going to be a few years. I got to get to work on this stuff. But did you find you were able to execute your vision, so to speak, from the get-go, or did you have to kind of chip away at that craft?
I was a good writer. Like English was like my forte. I was always a good writer, but definitely songwriting as a craft. It's like, it can be formulaic and a discipline. And I think knowing at least how to do all those things, whether or not you implement it in what you personally want to create all the time, I think that takes a lot of time. And like, I was studious for a minute about songwriting and still am, especially about production now that I'm getting more into like making my own sounds and self-production. Yeah. Did you teach yourself guitar?
No. I have never had, only in the last few years have I developed an ear that's very serviceable. I never had a great ear. I could learn well because I practiced a lot, and I loved it. I just loved it so much. But my ear was never that great at all. So I definitely needed a teacher to get the ball rolling. And the first one I had was crap, but he was gone after a month and a half. And then I got a really good one who I had for about 2.5 years in high school. And so once a week, half hour, brought in songs I wanted to learn, taught me most of them. And then of course, by that time the internet was up and you could look songs up on tablature. And so I was doing a lot of self-teaching too, but I definitely had a teacher. Were you self-taught, or did you have teachers along the way?
Guitar, I was, but like I said, like piano is such a great basis that all I really had to learn was like fingerings.
Yeah.
I had this poster of just like chords with the little dots. Do you remember
Mhm,
that poster?
Yep, absolutely. I didn't have it, but I definitely know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That, and then I used to get on like I can't remember what side it was. Maybe it was Ultimate Guitar. And print out sheet after sheet of chord charts of country songs that I wanted to learn. It was like cowpoke.com, maybe cowboylyrics.com. Anyway, those are the
We're
days.
so fortunate to have all that stuff at our disposal. I was the same way. I had tons of stacks of lyrics and chords and tablature and stuff like that.
I had a whole book of them.
Yeah, that's fun to look back on that. So when did you move to Austin? How long have you been in Austin for?
Since 2015.
Okay.
I went
And you
to.
I was going to say you moved right from West Texas, or did you have some middle years somewhere?
I went to this little music school called South Plains College in Levelland, Texas. It's back over in West Texas near Snyder. And then I went and got a bachelor's degree in Denton from UNT, University of North Texas.
A musical one?
It was anthropology, ethnomusicology, and educational psychology. Just
Cool.
3 concentrations.
And that's a really good school.
Awesome.
That's a really good music school. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Ethnomusicology was my favorite concentration because I got to be in the music building and around everybody. I had this great Eastern music teacher named Dr. Cho. He was my favorite one. He helped me form like more like what I think about God, and more than he did any kind of Eastern music, but he's like a very wise person. I liked him. And I liked college because I learned how to like learn and research and work really hard for no money. And it was a good experience. And then I stuck around there. I've been a live sound engineer since I was done waitressing, and worked up there for like 3 years, and then was like, I have to go somewhere else. And so I came here.
Were you playing all through college? Were you playing your own stuff all through college?
Oh yeah. I skipped the whole thing. Yeah, I had a band called.
I'm sorry, before I forget to ask you, were you transitioning? Because the stuff I've been listening to of you, there's not a lot of country. I'm sure there's some song. I didn't listen to all your songs, but I'm sure there's some country in there. But the stuff I wasn't hearing wasn't very country. So were you transitioning through those college years into all different kinds of genres, or did that happen kind of in Austin?
Yes. Yeah, that's such a good question. So when I was in Levelland, I started playing with Aaron Pugh and my cousin Nathan Norman, and we formed a band called Soul Tax because that was the name of my favorite anthropologist. And then we moved to Denton because Nathan and I started going to school at UNT, and Aaron came to be our guitarist, and we played a Soul Tax for several years. And then about 2012, we actually have an album out on Spotify. I forgot about that. SOLTAX. Those were awesome years. And I was at that point, like kind of moving away from country music. Whenever I went to South Plains, the college that's back in West Texas in Levelland, I started like playing in a jazz band and playing in a Beatles cover band, and just sort of like went away from the folk country world and found some music that I really, really loved. And I think that's one of the reasons that I chose ethnomusicology as a concentration, because I just wanted to see everything that was out there and know about it. And I still have a really long way to go on that front. But that's where I started moving towards, is I guess in all directions musically. And I still write pop songs though, as far as like what my voice wants to sing, it leans pop, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And then so you moved to Austin right after the college, UNT. Is it UNT? University of North Texas. Yeah. You came to Austin from there?
I came down from Austin. I actually worked at Strange Brew for a while, which Jamie mentioned in the last episode too. That's where I met Jamie and Janelle and Bryant. And yeah, I just kind of hopped around as a sound engineer and had been working on releasing my album. And then I got run over by a car real quick and survived a hit and run. And in 2018, like 6 months before I was supposed to release my first album, but we got it out anyway, thanks to like help from so many of my friends, everybody, so supportive. I am so lucky. And yeah, so after that, I've been releasing singles as far as like my own solo stuff. I did a Superphonicos. Do you know of that band? From here in Austin? Yep. I've released a single with them and just lately been writing with a few other people like Kalu James. I was just in the studio with him last week. I did some backing vocals for Tesmer last week.
Nice.
I honestly did not think I would still be in Austin in 2021. I thought that I would go somewhere else, but I love it here. And there's so much community that I don't know if I'll ever leave.
So that was a very nice synopsis. I want to get a little bit more into the Austin stuff, but I remember, so I had heard of you, and then when you got in the accident, I remember hearing about that and seeing it. And we certainly don't need to get too far into that as far as you want to go for, but when something like that happens, how, just in terms of your recovery and your music, I'm just interested to know, how long did that take before you could start doing your thing again creatively? And was it very uphill? Was it something that you found came back, surprisingly naturally? How did that whole process go for you?
Wow. Okay. That was a great question too. Honestly, I didn't come back around until I got into therapy for it. It's like this, thank God for Sims. Again, I'll say it again. I get trauma therapy for my severe bodily injury, and my dad died the year after that. So it's just been like, kind of hitting a lot of potholes. Thank you. Appreciated it.
Yeah. No problem.
Yeah.
So you're saying you didn't start playing music again until what you were talking about in the summer? This past summer?
Oh, no. Sorry. I've been playing. Okay. I've been chugging along. I've been releasing music slowly and I did like a music video in this time, but I'm saying that I have not written a song by myself since before 2018. And I guess songwriting was really what I was referring to in that.
I gotcha. Sure.
It's just like they don't come out. There was nothing. I couldn't download it from the universe. It wasn't happening. Right. And yeah, but now I could do like co-writes as long as I was like pulling inspiration from someone else, but I just couldn't make myself sit down and work on something for my own solo project. Like I just couldn't. And I'm still like exploring what that's about, but I am feeling much healthier now and much more able to like make more babies, song babies. It's hard work.
That's great to hear. And that's heavy that it took a while to come back, but it's also a blessing that it did come back. So that's great to hear. Now, aside from the songwriting side, did you find you were able to kind of go through the motions and get some sort of release or pleasure out of just playing and singing songs you already knew, or was there something missing from that as well?
No, playing was always happening. Like it
still
always felt
good.
Wonderful, especially when I got to like play with Superphonicos, and when I get to play with full bands, I'm just like a little bit reminiscent of, remember what that was like? I miss that. Yeah, but especially with bands, it was like I can do my best to dance around and like I'm feeling it again. But songwriting is what I think that I'd find value in for my self value in a way. And you know, just like being like physically hurt and not able to work out physically, like I have to sweat or for my own brain to work right personally, and not being able to do that was like just as much, it felt like just as much of a hindrance as like not being able to write a song. You know, they were like equal parts. I just can't do it one day to the next. Anyway.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. And you know, playing is like singing and performing a song, whether it's to nobody or to a crowd. It's like it's physically great, it feels great, and it's also kind of like oh gosh, you know, it's like a whoosh of goodness going through you. But then the songwriting is like, it's a different bag. It's kind of like it charts your growth, you know, it gets things out that are deeper than just, well, that's debatable. I don't this is a Pandora's box. Maybe I shouldn't open it, but that is interesting.
Have you seen the movie Soul?
I have seen it.
Okay.
It. I don't know if you're gonna like my you're gonna like my response on the movie, but go ahead.
But it's like getting to playing the music is all I can always like get there to, you know, the magic land of dreams or whatever. But writing is like when I get that's my voice about it. You know, I'm not just covering another song or you know, singing a song that I wrote 10 years ago and that's how I felt. Even though it still hits hard, it's like I have to be saying something, or like or I don't feel well-rounded as an artist if I'm not like continuing to like have a message and express it. I don't know. How does it? I listened to your song Tacky and Mediocre from your website earlier.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Thank you. Yeah. Songwriting's become such a weird thing for me. It's like, it's almost like I've just recently in the last like month given it like, because genres are tricky, you know, especially in these day and age, all these genres are becoming either you are in a genre and you go with the genre, but a lot of us we have so many influences. The idea is you hopefully come into something that's new, and even though everything's been done, but I kind of come up with this concept of just like soul surrealism, because what's coming out is just like, it's weird and it's hard to explain, but it feels great. It feels great to me. So I just got to keep doing it because I love it. But you were going to say, oh yeah, Soul. So me and my wife were not happy with Soul because I didn't watch it as a singular person. We're watching it with my daughter, and like Disney's been personally, and I guess my wife feels the same way, but we're just not as into these Disney movies that have like this metaphysical / you know, it's a little, I think it's a bit much for 5-6 year olds. And I don't know. I don't want to go off on a tangent on Disney movies, but yeah, Soul, I was hoping Soul was going to be like this awesome movie about jazz in New York City and like, you know, the usual kind of Pixar charm, but then it went off into that other direction. I was like, all right, I guess we're going here with this one, but that's all. But I know what you're talking about. So
yeah. I was just referencing that place where it's set.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, sure. I also wanted it to be more musically, the plot more musically charged. Like that's fun to me. But I mean, I guess it all was. But anyway.
I got that out of Coco. Did you see Coco? Have you seen that one?
Yes. I love Coco.
Yes. Coco's one of my favorite of all those movies. Definitely. My wife loves it. My daughter loves it. Coco is so good. Amazing movie.
Loved Coco. I also really loved Moana. I know that's basic, but Moana, I loved it so much.
Moana and Coco are the top of my list for those for sure. Because visually they're incredible. The music in them is fantastic. And I love those two as well, for sure.
Yeah.
So
Hear that?
we are in 2021. I think you're my first 2021 interview. Yes, I think I did one right before. So we've been doing this thing for 10 months. It's getting, I think it was just today I was thinking to myself, like, you know, I'm probably not going to play a live show. You know, we're playing it safe. You know, if musicians want to go out there and do their thing, I get it. If I was single and a different life, I would probably do the same thing. But we're playing it super safe. So personally, I'm probably not going to be playing any live shows for another 5-6 months. That would be my guess. Hopefully I'm wrong, but you know, for yourself moving forward as we sit here, you know, what do you have planned? What are you looking forward to? Do you see yourself playing live shows in the near future? Are you going to wait it out?
I have been playing only because
Good for you.
like not writing songs made me have a lot of self-doubt as an artist. Like not having an income makes me have a lot of self-doubt as like an independent adult that, you know, is fiscally responsible and smart. I don't know. I just feel like if the work's there, I'm gonna go get it. And so, but I am doing, like, I try to do, unless it's at an establishment that has to like follow the rules, it has to be an outside gig. Geraldine's is having people play, and so I have a Geraldine's gig that's coming up, and Armadillo Den I'm also playing out here in Austin. It's down south. And see, I am single and I live alone, so it's my own safety. I feel okay with like doing my best to be as safe as I can, which like I'm doing my best. Everybody seems to be following the rules where I'm going and where I've been, so that's working out. There's not very many gigs, but I'm also, so on Christmas I released my first self-produced everything. I mixed it myself. I don't tell anybody this, she said on a podcast, used a like online mastering software. It's called ProMaster, I think. It gave me 4 or 5 different options with different like parameters, and that's what I used. And I released a Happy Christmas cover, and it, you know, was a cover, but at least I know that I can self-produce and like work on something bigger and not have to worry about going to the studio or having money to go to the studio or time. So that's another thing that I've been working on every day is like self-production and yeah, playing gigs when they come.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm a little jealous about the gigging thing. Like, I can wait it out a little longer, I'll be fine. But I have been thinking a lot about it, and I do miss it quite a bit. But you know, I'm just gonna have to wait it out a little longer. But so I'm glad to hear that you are doing it, and because it's a health risk to a certain degree, but it's a health benefit to an undeniable degree. So, and then. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. But what was the thing you said right after? The self-production. Yeah, I mean, is there any better time spent creatively than that stuff? It's the best. I mean, working with people is great too, but I've been in certain stages where I can do what you're talking about and just get into that mode, and you're just in it. It's great. It sounds like that's what you're doing right now. So,
yeah, I'm feeling good. Writing new music, making new production music. I've got all my pedals working. I'm a Twitch affiliate now, just acquired that distinction. And yeah, I feel fortunate in 2021.
Good. And you're working with other awesome musicians. That's got to be fun and rewarding as well. Yeah, because I know all those people you were talking about, and those guys are all and ladies are all great to work with. So good for you. Yeah, I'm having a band practice every like 3-4 weeks, and just that alone is great. Just to develop some new music, and it's only like 2 hours every month, but I love it. And I got one coming up this weekend, so I'm excited about that. Well, Sydney, thank you so much for doing this. I'm glad you got over a hump. I think we're all getting over certain humps, but it sounds like you're doing really good. Good luck moving forward. And I look forward to hearing more stuff from you in the near future, I hope.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really Lovely talking to you.
All right. You take care. Thanks again.